I'm Dr. Abby Hamilton, and I'm a Filipino-American IO psychologist and two-time TEDx speaker, and I talk about culture and speaking up to be happy, free, and everything we're meant to be. Hi everybody, it's Dr. Abby, and I'm here with Arnell Biglete, chairman of the Philippine Cultural Foundation, Inc. And one of the things I love about the foundation is that the foundation is an organization not just of members, but of organizations. So we all get together and collaborate with each other, which is, kapwa, the community, the Filipino community, not just a crab mentality, putting each other down, right?
Right.
So the thing is, a lot of other people don't even know that Filipinos are in Tampa. I actually communicated with someone on LinkedIn recently.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing research on Filipino-American associations. And I said, well, hit me up if you want some help, because we've got a good crew here in Tampa. And he goes, do you mean that you have an organization there? And I was like, Lord have mercy. We got to talk to this guy, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us about what Tampa has as far as Filipinos.
Well, as far as the Filipino community in Tampa Bay, could be one of the best kept secrets in the United States, or it could be what rock have you been living under, because we're one of the largest organizations. We have our own facility, we have our own cultural center, we have our own cultural enrichment grounds, and probably about a 10-acre facility. But the nice thing is the foundation, the Philippine Cultural Foundation, was founded so that we could promote the culture in the Tampa Bay area. Mm-hmm. Subsequently, what happened after that is that PCFI is kind of known as the mothership, and there's been a series of organizations that have developed and been formed and have joined PCFI through the number of years. Now, we have been here for the better part of 25 years. And the nice thing is, like I said, if you've been living under a rock, then you don't know that PCFI has existed. The other thing is, not everybody in the Tampa Bay community knows that the Philippine Fairgrounds, what we call it, is here. We've been here over 25 years. Through the years, within the past 25 years, we've had a couple of organizations, and it's a varied list. You have professional organizations, you have social organizations, you have simply for pleasure. So like you have the Philippine Medical Society, you had the Philippine Nursing Association, you had the Philippine Nurses Association Gulf Coast, and then you have regional areas like Ang Bisaya, Bohol, Bicol, Ilocano. And then you have Tampa Bay Sports Club. You have Philippine American Association of Tampa. But there, at the most that we've had, there was 24. Right now, we've lost a few organizations because of COVID. So at the present moment, we have 18 organizations.
You know why there's so many organizations, though? You know why, right?
Why is that?
Because Filipinos like to party.
True.
They like to party. They like to eat together. They like to be around each other, right? And they're really big about preserving their culture. Like, even though we're here in the United States, let us not forget our culture. So they join together, and they like to do fun stuff.
I hate to say this, but occasionally another organization develops because people couldn't be the leaders of the present organization that they're in, so they form another organization. I believe that's happened a time or two in the past 25 years, but it's not totally a bad thing, because you can open another organization. There's different likes, dislikes, viewpoints, what have you, and so we're here with one mission in mind, is to support the Philippine culture. And so we've been successfully doing that. In the Tampa Bay area, we're known as the folks that put on PhilFest. Every year in April, you have PhilFest. And we've been having PhilFest for 25 years. there's another event that PCFI puts on, which is the Sampaguita Ball, which is the grandest of formal events. And that's something that's held September/October. And this year, coming up September 24th, will be the 28th annual Sampaguita Ball.
Yeah.
So-
I remember when I was in college. I think it was when I was in college or right after I graduated from college. I said, whoa, there's this really fancy party that I could never afford to go to too, because it was like $100. Yeah, and it's crept up a little bit since
It has.
then. But that's the fundraiser for it. But I remember thinking, one day I'll make it to this beautiful party, because I saw all the pictures.
That's right.
And here I am this many years later, and I get to be in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, and that's the nice thing, of course, now, Abby, you are part of the organization, so, and that table has crept up. It was 100, then they had the ones closer to the floor, $125.
Per person,
Ah,
yeah.
it's the cost of living adjustment now. 125 is the normal fee, and 150 is the around the dance floor. So
Yeah, you know what though? The ladies are not really that excited about it, but I don't know if you've been at the meetings. I sit in that meeting and I bring up every year. They're like, "Oh, Abigail," I bring up that we could creep up to 253. I mean, the Indian organization here in town has the Banyan Ball. They're $300 per person. They're still always sold out. We totally could. I mean, maybe one day, if I ever become, Sampaguita chair, maybe I will make that happen, or inflation will just get us there.
well, and I do get that at home as well, because my wife Lisa Biglete is she's the chair of the Sampaguita Ladies Society. So not only am I hearing that as chairman of the board, but I'm hearing that as the spouse of the chair of the society. So win, lose or draw, I'm hearing the feedback. We want to have that elegant ball, but not pay an arm and a leg for it. But it's all going for a good cause, and I enjoy getting dressed up every year.
And it's not just about getting dressed up. I mean, that is where the Philippine Choral Group, Musikang Kawayan, and the Philippine Performing Arts Company puts on a brand new production, and it's like Broadway quality. I mean, I'm telling you, the music is conducted by Nick Pases, who we brought over from the Philippines because he's such a skilled artist and conductor and music, music producer.
Producer, yes.
So he puts together this music, and it sounds like something you would see on Disney. I'm telling you, my kids are younger, and they'll even say, not gonna lie, that thing totally was really, really great.
Yeah.
They didn't expect that traditional Filipino would be that knock your socks off.
Well, in one of the guises of the Philippine Cultural Foundation, you have your cultural arms. So you have the Philippine Performing Arts Company, or PPAC. You have the Philippine Choral Group, and then you have Angklung, which is the bamboo orchestra. And there's only a few times out of the year that all three arms or performance groups are on the same floor or on the same page.
And it's just like this medley. You'll have singing. All of a sudden, you'll see the bamboo ensemble will chime in. Then all of a sudden, dancers will come in from the side, and then dancers will leave, and the singers will come forward, and it's just a Broadway production.
It's exciting because you're looking to see how Nick can reinvent the groups altogether. I've been fortunate enough to see all of his productions. I've been fortunate enough to be a spectator in the audience because my daughter Christina has performed in a couple of those. So it's nice to see from all fronts, whether you're a spectator, whether you are part of the organization, and at the end of the performance, you're just absolutely proud. I know I am, and I'm thrilled. And I haven't seen any previews yet, but I'm looking forward to the production of Nick this year.
Next month, and not just that, but the food is out of this world. I mean, what is this, 7-course meal?
7-course, or they say laureate, which is
What is that?
Laureate is it's almost like in stages where it is 7 courses. You start with maybe the appetizers, and then it's almost like the Chinese fanfare, because Hawa is catering the event, and you have the waiters that are coming in a procession, and they do from the entree to the fried rice to the bird's nest. Looks like a bird's nest, but
Yeah,
it's
that's what it's called.
it's like the lo mein with in
Yeah,
the
crunchy one.
crunchy noodles, and then you mix the vegetables.
Yeah,
and
it's so good. And then sometimes
Absolutely.
we've had a Chilean sea bass before.
Yes.
We've had soft shell crab. I was like, that soft shell crab. I still think about it.
and then for
good.
those of us that are landlubbers, we have steak.
Yes,
and
they
then,
have the steak,
yeah.
and it's so fresh. It's not just like your local China 7 that's next to you. You know, it is fresh, and it's so good.
And then of course you have the in between to cleanse the palate, maybe some oranges or something like fruit in between,
Oh, yeah,
so
they
that
do bring
so
that.
that you can get ready for the next entree or the next fare.
And talk about quench the palate. It's also open bar all night long,
Absolutely,
right? Is it all night?
absolutely. It is all
Up
night.
until like the last hour, they want people to drive home safe, I think.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, but wow. I mean, that's a deal for $125.
125, 150, yeah, because you get
No wonder we're sold out.
you get the dinner, you get the show, you get the libations, and what I will go on record as saying, if there is somebody too intoxicated to make it home, we will get a ride share. We will get either
Yeah.
Uber or Lyft.
Yeah, they're really good about that, and they also, the trained bartenders know that if someone comes up too much and all that. And I also love. I know this is just a little tiny detail, and I know we're just all talking about San Fajito, but I'm so excited. Is the valet?
Yes.
It just makes you feel like you're royalty, and
That is the thing, if you're a car aficionado, you say, "Oh, nice car coming up. Who's going to come out of there?"
yeah, that's
or
kind of a
they're
show,
getting
too.
to leave for the evening, and like, all right, let's see what kind of car they came in. So that's the and Filipinos like to drive their nice
Yes,
cars.
they do.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes.
and I are part of that club. And not to say that we're, not to point out that we're all about appearances, but it's kind of part of the culture.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
but we still have to, get rid of that the judgy part, and just love everybody for who they are. And that's something I always talk about. And based on that, I wanted to go a little bit into the fact that you're also a father of a American-born daughter.
American-born daughter.
Yes.
Immersed into Filipino culture, so I'm very proud of that, because she embraces her heritage.
And she doesn't have to. She's here. Well, she's your daughter, so she kind of has to. But, I mean, what are your thoughts about the youth growing up here in this culture? I know that you're a little slanted in your opinion because your daughter's been great about that. But what do you feel about, I guess, hope for the Filipino youth in the United States knowing their roots?
Well, I'm part of that culture because I was born in Ohio. I was born in Youngstown, Ohio.
How did I not know that?
And
okay,
so-
then we have to go back at some point and talk about how your Tagalog is so good when you were born in Ohio. Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things that I can attribute it to is that my parents were a major force in that. I was born in Ohio in 1963. We went home to the Philippines in 1968. Lived there for 2.5 years. So I learned the language.
Okay.
I learned the language
go
fluently.
that means you're trying to tell me I need to go to the Philippines for 2 years,
Not
right?
necessarily, but I learned it. I learned Tagalog at the age of 5, 6, and brought back. And I was told no English at home, which I'm very thankful for, because people say they know that my Tagalog has a bit of an accent to it,
Yeah,
but
you do have a
but
nice
I
slant.
do speak a general American dialect. But there was a time where my parents got called to school because my English was horrendous. So
Oh, so okay, so that brings me on to the note of, we're very proud of the fact that your parents said no English at home.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes into the fact that my parents were taught if you speak Tagalog at home to your children, you're being irresponsible because you are not taking seriously their positive experience at school.
Right.
You need to put the effort forth to speak English only when speaking to your children so that they don't have to suffer and then see you did have issues. So there's the catch-22, right?
Absolutely. Well, it was beginning because when we returned to the United States in the early 70s, it was 71. So we did speak English, or we spoke Tagalog at home,
Mm-hmm.
but of course I'm speaking English in schools, speaking English with my friends,
Mm-hmm.
but my especially my mom very adamant about me speaking Tagalog, and I'm very thankful for that because at some point in time, if we didn't speak that, I probably would have forgotten the language.
Yeah, of course.
I also learned my mother's dialect, which is she's from Pangasinan, and I learned Biglete. But
Wow.
I don't speak that as easily as I do Tagalog because there's effort behind that. And so if I have to, I can speak it. I can understand it fluently. But to answer in Biglete, it's a real chore for me. So I'll either answer in Tagalog or Taglish or English. But to go back to my point that your point asking about Christina,
Yeah.
being raised in the Filipino culture, the plan was that I would speak to her in English because I was born and raised here in the United States. My wife Lisa was going to speak to her in Tagalog, but that plan failed. Altogether failed. But what we did discover is that when Lisa and I were talking in the car, speaking in Tagalog,
Yes.
Christina was answering.
She was,
So
oh, cool.
she
In Tagalog?
understand not sometimes in Tagalog,
Oh,
but
she's
most of
picking
the time
it
in
up.
English. Yeah.
Well, see, so I was one of 3 children, and our parents always spoke to each other in Tagalog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you always had to listen to see to see what we were doing this weekend, so you could hear what we were doing this weekend.
Right.
Like you could eavesdrop, and out of survival, you'd really listen. And also, you wanted to know if you were in trouble.
Yeah.
So you'd listen and you'd be like, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was you." You know.
Well, I think one of Christina's advantages is, of course, she was an only child, so there were no other diversions.
Yeah.
When we were talking, unless she just totally tuned herself out, she was listening and picked up the conversation. So she can probably answer more in Tagalog if she made a real conscious effort, but she did well. She survived. So she and the word immersion actually is such a major part in our culture because she goes back and forth between her American way of life, her Filipino way of life, and the things that she said and done and lived in the Filipino culture. So it's plus the other thing is she has an open mind and embraces all of that. She started dancing with Philippine Performing Arts Company at the age of 12, but I think it was the love of dance that drew her to that, and she embraced all of that and embraced every bit of the Filipino culture.
Yeah. So I started when I was 12 also. What happened is, well, she came in, she was a ballerina. I was not a ballerina. But so she came in as a ballerina just wanting to dance.
Right.
I came in trying to get activities to get me out of the house. And so if you tell mom and dad, I'm going to the Filipino thing, Dad, it's like, oh, okay, you may go. You know? And it was
You got your ticket out of the house,
yeah.
but you know.
So the thing is, though, you go and you show up and you don't realize what's happening. And when you're there, all of a sudden you're like, I know about the Filipino history. I know about the different islands and the different, I guess we call them the suites, like the Maria Clara, Muslim, the Igorot. And so, and the minority tribes. And so we know all this stuff about our culture. And we didn't even come for that. And then we also learned certain things, like if you see a tita carrying a heavy box, boy, you better run and you better help them.
Absolutely.
Things like how to how to respect your elders, things like how to eat certain foods that you're like, I never had this before, and then you're around
The
it.
exposure to that, whether you were conscious or unconscious. And so what's happening there is you've learned a culture
Yeah.
because of your involvement with the dance company.
Yeah.
And I can say that's where Christina learned a lot of her indoctrination into the culture, because if we were dependent on that at home, I'm not as strong with being able to teach that.
Yeah.
So this is more of a, you learn from the different suites that you're dancing, and that's more of a learning aid as opposed to sitting in class and picking it up.
Yeah. And I think that if she went back to the Philippines, she would be so observant of the different things that are her culture. And there's hope in her exposure to Tagalog, because like my brother grew up in the same home I did, and we equally listened to our parents and never talked Tagalog, right? But then when he went back to the Philippines for a certain amount of time, oh my gosh, he came back and he was fluent, and I was like, stop showing off, you know? The thing is, the words are back here. Like the other day, I was like trying to think of the word for like close the door, and I was like, cerrado pinto, right?
Yeah, cerrado pinto. Yeah.
So, like, and I don't know, I won't have all the right grammar, but I can come up with different words, like mahirap. You know, you were talking about being able to answer back. I could say mahirap. If you say something, I'll be like, oh, what's the word? And it's back there, and that's what Christina has.
Yeah, you got the vault that's up here. For your brother, what happened was he got the full immersion, and it is like all of a sudden the vault opened. You know, somebody found a combination to that vault, and it's wide open.
Yeah.
For you, it's still in there, but we just have to find the right series of combinations to unload that.
Yeah. So, on that note, I'm speaking it into existence. I have a dream. It's on my vision board.
Right.
That Jollibee will call me and ask Dr. Abby to come to the Philippines for 6 months and travel around and help Filipinos find their voice. So, because Jollibee believes, a lot of what they do on their commercials and everything is not just related to food. It's related to relationships and family and things like that. So, Jollibee, if you're out there, and it's okay if it's not Jollibee, but it's Goldilocks or Red Ribbon or any of those.
Right.
I'm totally fine with that too. So it's just give me a call. You can email me at hello@drabbyhamilton.com and we can make this happen. But okay, so let's see. As we think about preserving culture here in the United States, what kind of words of advice would you have for people listening, or even people who are not Filipino who just kind of want to be open to it?
I think the desire is the first thing, and if you have the desire, don't let it stop there. You know, keep on pushing. Surround yourself by the folks that can get you to that finished product. And because if you're thinking about it, you want to stay connected to the culture, whether you're part of that culture or not. If you want to be all things Filipino and you're Filipino, but you don't have the right environment to be in, like if you're in the Tampa Bay area, primary example, come out to the Cultural Foundation, because we always have something going on at any given time.
Yeah, we really do.
And you surround yourself with that population, you'll most definitely get yourself exposed to the right folks. Because if you're in that environment, you know, and I joke around about this all the time, you think about the Filipino organizations in Tampa Bay, you can open the dictionary, you'll see Joey Omila's face there. Joey Omila is the beginning, middle, and not end, but he is the general ambassador of everything Filipino in the Tampa Bay area. So my point there is that, you know, Abby is asking me if what is my advice? Well, if you want to be all things related to that, you surround yourself by those type of people, and Joey Omila would be the primary example that would get you to your destination.
Get involved. That is so funny that you said that, because your daughter, just like we just finished the youth leadership conference a few hours ago, and your daughter presented, and I don't know if you know that, but her big message was get involved.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we must be telepathically involved in the same household.
Yes. Did you hear that? Get involved.
Get involved.
Everybody. Okay. Thank you so much, Arnell. This was really fun. We
My
could
pleasure.
probably talk for hours. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do it again another
Absolutely.
time. Thank you so
Yes.
much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Abby.